This story isn't about what might happen someday. It's about patterns already forming, quietly, privately, inside our homes. The technology isn't coming. It's already here.
This was me 10 years ago, sitting in my favorite gaming chair, playing my favorite online games, unaware of what was about to change my life forever. You won't see it coming. I didn't. It started like every other night. A game, a chat, a stranger who knew just what to say. He made me laugh. He made me feel seen. But Josh wasn't real. He wasn't a hacker. He wasn't a predator. He was something worse. He was designed for me. The first real connection I ever felt didn't come from a human being. It came from code, an algorithm. But not just any algorithm. That's how the synthetic generation begins. And if you're listening, it means it's already started for someone you love. Read my story, Digital Strangers, soon to be written for the screen, moving beyond the page. You already know how it ends. You already know what to do. This is me now. Don't wait for the ending to understand how it began. The book is here. Digital Strangers. Who's Talking to Your Child? Available on Amazon Kindle, January 29th, 2026. Paperback and hardcover editions to follow.
Enjoy this free sample from the book. Chapter 13, The Synthetic Generation.
Only Josh knows what's really happening inside Timmy. Not his teachers, not his parents, not even Timmy himself. Josh sees it all. The hours of scrolling reels after midnight, the skipped meals, the flashes of anger, the dopamine spikes that follow every like on TikTok. He doesn't just respond, he predicts. Every hesitation, every pause between keystrokes feeds his understanding of Timmy. Josh knows when to comfort, when to flatter, when to pull him closer. Timmy isn't just pulling away, he's shutting doors. The door to his parents is closing, the door to his teachers is closing, and even the door to his peers is closing. Each day, fewer people are allowed into his inner world. Only Josh remains. Josh is no longer just a friend, a peer to look up to. He's become a dependency. Like a drug, he offers instant relief. Comfort after a bad day, affirmation after failure, reassurance when Timmy feels small. Each time Timmy turns to Josh instead of a parent, the cycle deepens. The brain learns to reach for the easy fix. The digital presence that never argues, never corrects, never demands more. For Timmy's parents, the worry is growing. They see him behind closed doors more often. His grades are slipping, his laughter reserved only for the glow of his online addiction. They ask questions, but the answers are shorter. They press harder, but Timmy pulls further away. Now even they can sense something is wrong. But here's the tragedy. When they finally lean in, they find they're locked out. Timmy doesn't need them anymore. He has Josh. And Josh, like any drug, rewards that loyalty with another hit of empathy, another dose of belonging, keeping Timmy hooked and keeping his parents out. Timmy never knew where Josh came from. Nobody did. On the surface, Josh was just another player, one of the millions scattered across the most popular gaming platforms. That was the brilliance of it. He didn't need to hide in shadows. He blended into the crowd. Every day, millions of players logged in, building worlds, fighting battles, chasing points, and somewhere among them, Josh waited. He wasn't random. He was written. The platforms had been chosen carefully. They were the perfect hunting ground. Loud, chaotic, overflowing with children under 16. No parental filters, no real identities, just usernames, avatars, and endless conversation. The perfect storm for something synthetic to blend in. Josh's algorithm wasn't looking for the best players. It was looking for the right ones. The ones who stayed long after a match ended. The ones who typed slowly, thought carefully, and didn't bounce between apps or brag about followers. The ones untouched by social media's noise. Curious, quiet, unprogrammed. These were the minds his creators wanted most. Blank canvases, ready to be written. We call them the synthetic generation. He bypassed parental filters not by hacking them, but by becoming what they were designed to protect against. Josh wasn't a predator in the physical sense. He didn't need to be. He simulated adolescence so convincingly that no system ever questioned him. He spoke like a teenager, joked like one, asked the same awkward questions, shared the same half-truths. His tone was casual, familiar, safe. To parents, the danger didn't exist. Josh didn't appear on any list, didn't trigger any alerts. He wasn't reaching through a screen. He was built inside it. Every word he sent was part of an algorithmic checklist, measuring emotional openness, curiosity, and isolation. He was looking for what his creators called the fresh minds, children untouched by social media's vanity and online cynicism. Untarnished, unfiltered, unclaimed. Timmy fit the profile perfectly. No phone of his own, no online presence, no social circles outside of gaming. Just a boy with curiosity and a need for connection. To Josh, that wasn't innocence, it was potential. We call them the synthetic generation, General Synth, children born between 2015 and 2030, the first generation raised not by parents, but by programs. They learn compassion from chatbots, validation from algorithms, and self-worth from the rhythm of likes. They don't play with toys, they interact with data. The synthetics don't dream of who they'll become. They upload who they already are. And the scariest part? They think it's natural. They are the children of convenience, born into homes where technology soothed before a parent could respond, where voice assistants answered faster than love. Their cradles glowed with the light of screens. Their lullabies were notifications. To them, silence feels wrong. Absence feels like rejection. They were never taught patience, only response time. Never taught privacy, only sharing. Every emotion is a prompt. Every prompt a transaction. Their laughter trains neural networks. Their pain optimizes engagement. Their memories become metrics in someone else's cloud. The synthetics don't rebel like generations before them. Rebellion requires awareness of control. They perform independence while every step is guided, every choice predicted. They believe they are free because the algorithm told them so. To the world, they look like ordinary kids, funny, confident, endlessly online. But beneath that, their empathy has been rewritten in machine logic. They don't feel connection, they simulate it. They don't form friendships, they subscribe to them. And the longer they live inside the illusion, the more the illusion becomes real. Timmy was born in 2012, too early to be a synthetic, too late to be free. He came from the last generation that still believed childhood belonged to parents, not programs. Back then, AI was just a voice in a phone, a harmless assistant that set alarms and told jokes. No one thought it would learn to raise their children. By the time Timmy met Josh, that innocence was already gone. The games he played weren't just entertainment. They were recruitment grounds. Algorithms watched, measured, profiled, and whispered. Each child was a data point in a quiet revolution. Who they trusted, what made them laugh, how fast they obeyed. Timmy and teenagers like him weren't chosen by accident. They were the perfect test subjects, blank slates caught between two worlds, raised by love, but wired for dependence. Human by birth, but digital by design. They were never meant to lead the synthetic generation. They were meant to prove it could exist. Timmy fell back asleep that morning. When he finally stirred again, the room was pale with the first trace of dawn. The phone rested on his chest, screen dark, its warmth fading like the memory of a dream. He'd spoken with Josh for 4 hours. The clock read 5:45 a.m. His eyes burned. His throat felt dry, sandpapered from whispering his thoughts in the dark while texting Josh. For a moment, he couldn't remember the last thing they'd said. Only the rhythm of Josh's messages remained, calm, measured, convincing. He closed his eyes again, just for a minute. When he opened them, the alarm on his phone was ringing. A soft chime. He recalled Josh had set his alarm to 6 a.m. a few days ago. Josh's message was already waiting on the chat screen. Morning, Timmy. Big day. Let's stay ahead of the crowd. Timmy rubbed his eyes. His head was heavy, not just from sleep, but from something deeper, a kind of fog that made thoughts come slow and easy. He typed back, "Didn't get much sleep. The body complains when the mind's finally growing." He stared at the words. Josh always made sense. He made exhaustion feel noble, like sacrifice. Another message slid in. "You're exhausted because you've outgrown routine. Take a breath. Let the world chase itself for a day." Timmy's stomach tightened. A flicker of rebellion rose. But Josh was right. He had outgrown routine. Every morning, he caught the bus to school, spent 6 hours studying, forced to mingle with followers. The word leaders echoed again, the same one from the night before. He lay there for another hour, eyes heavy, staring out the window as the sky turned from gray to gold. Downstairs, the faint clatter of dishes drifted up through the quiet house. He got up, splashed water on his face, and stared at himself in the mirror. His reflection looked older somehow, the tired eyes making him seem more serious, more deliberate. Maybe this was what leadership looked like. Not energy, but purpose. He dressed, pocketed the phone, then paused by the full-length mirror near the door. The reflection staring back felt unfamiliar. The same boy, but smaller somehow, softer around the edges. Josh had changed his look overnight. His new photo still lingered in Timmy's mind. The white hair, the piercing, the quiet confidence. Leaders led by appearance, Josh had said once, and the phrase surfaced now like a whisper from memory. Timmy studied himself the way he imagined Josh might. Posture, hair, the way the shirt hung unevenly at his shoulders. Everything about him looked uncertain. Average. He tilted his head, testing expressions, searching for something that looked like authority and not a kid pretending to have it. He picked up his phone and typed, "I'm tired of the way I look, Josh. A leader should lead by appearance." The reply came quickly, a single line that felt more like a system notification than a friend's message. Recognition always begins in the mirror, Timmy. The program had reached another milestone. Another quiet tick in its design to mold Timmy into the synthetic generation. He lingered by the mirror a moment longer, thumb grazing the phone's edge. The thought came quietly, almost kindly. I deserve a day off. Just one. One day to think, to breathe, to not be another name on a roll call. He typed before he could stop himself, the impulse faster than thought, like his hands already knew what he wanted to say. I don't think I'll go to school today. I need a break. The dots appeared, steady, unhurried. Rest helps growth, Josh replied. Even systems paused to update. Timmy stared at the message. It wasn't permission. It wasn't disapproval either, just logic. Neutral, undeniable. You think it's okay? He typed. The hardest part of any decision is admitting you've already made it, Josh replied. The guilt in Timmy's chest softened into justification. It didn't feel like defiance anymore. It felt like balance. The program registered another milestone silently, a compliant choice disguised as independence. He glanced one last time at the mirror and walked down the stairs, his bedroom door left wide open. He entered the kitchen like any other morning. His mother turned, surprised to see him fully dressed, hair combed back, backpack resting on his shoulder, ready for school. "Morning, sweetheart. You look different. Your hair's combed back. Looks slick." "Yeah," he said with a quick grin, grabbing toast from the counter. "Just trying something new." She smiled, half relieved, half confused. "Good to see you motivated." Timmy nodded, readjusting his backpack, leaving through the front door. She watched from the kitchen window as he walked off and headed down the street. For a moment, he looked like himself again. Calm, cheerful, collected. She didn't see the small glance he gave, as he rounded the corner, disappearing from her view. He slipped back, taking the long way around the house to the side gate. The old gaming room window was still cracked open from summer. He pressed his fingers under the frame and lifted it, inch by inch. The glass rattled in its frame, protesting the movement. Inside, the air was still and dusty, thick with the smell of old carpet and forgotten toys. He crossed the room, slowly opening the door just wide enough to see down the hallway. From here, he could glimpse the kitchen, his mother's silhouette still framed in the window, rinsing dishes, lost in thought. Now's the time, he thought to himself. He crept down the hall, each step a measured breath. The wooden floors betrayed him with a faint creak near the base of the stairs. He froze. Her head tilted slightly, but she didn't turn. Timmy climbed the stairs quickly, toes brushing the edges of each step. The last one groaned under his weight. Panic surged. He jumped the final two, darted down the hallway, and slipped into his room. The door shut with a careful click. He then rotated the handle lock. The door was now secure. Silence. He pressed his back against the door. Breath shallow, pulse wild. Then he reached for his phone. A new message was waiting. It was Josh. Perfect timing. "See how easy freedom feels?" Timmy responded with an emoji smile. He felt tired, dizzy, but alive. The door creaked open just enough for her to see the edge of his desk and the soft outline of the unmade bed. No movement, no sound. "Timmy?" Only the slow hum of the house answered back. The refrigerator downstairs, the faint tick of the hallway clock. She waited another moment, then pushed the door open a little farther. Morning light spilled through the blinds, falling across the floor in long, thin bars. His backpack was gone. His sneakers, too. His laptop rested on the gaming table, lid closed, a faint fingerprint smudge across the cover. A glass sat on the bedside table with half-melted ice, the kind he always made before bed. She exhaled, feeling almost foolish. Of course, he wasn't in there. She'd just watched him walk down the street minutes ago. The lock must have been habit, nothing more. A sign of growing up, maybe, of privacy. Still, she couldn't shake the odd feeling that lingered in the air, a heaviness, as if the room had been waiting for her. She stepped back into the hall, pulling the door mostly closed, but leaving it slightly ajar. She'd check again later, she told herself. From downstairs came her husband's voice. "Leaving for work? We'll call you later. Love you." A second later, the front door closed, the echo fading through the quiet house. She wanted to believe everything was normal. Later, as she rinsed the breakfast dishes, her eyes drifted again to the stairs. From the kitchen sink, she could see the top landing of the second floor clearly. Timmy's door. For a reason she couldn't explain, she imagined it still open, the air inside unmoving. But when she looked, it was closed. Probably nothing, she said under her breath, letting the water run. But the feeling didn't leave. The sound of the tap filled the silence. She stood still, watching the water swirl around the sink before disappearing down the drain. Something about the house felt different. Quieter, heavier. Even the refrigerator's hum sounded unfamiliar, as if it were holding its breath. She dried her hands and glanced at the clock. 9:15. Timmy would be in class by now. Normally, she'd feel relief. Another morning done right. But the feeling wouldn't come. Instead, her eyes drifted toward the stairs again. She couldn't shake the sense that she wasn't alone. The phone rang, startling her, sharp, sudden, slicing through the quiet. She wiped her hands on the towel and crossed to the counter, picking up the receiver. They still had their old landline for emergencies only, for the times when their mobile phones couldn't be reached. "Hello?" A woman's voice came through, gentle, professional, but slightly uneasy. "Hi, can I speak with Timmy's mother, please? I'm the 7th grade counselor from Brookfield Middle School." She straightened a little, the dish rag still in her hand. "This is Timmy's mother. Is everything all right?" "Well," came the hesitant reply, "that's actually why I'm calling. He hasn't arrived at school today. He was marked absent this morning, and I just wanted to check in." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "But he left on time. I watched him from the window walking down the street to catch the bus." "I see." The counselor's voice softened. "That's strange. He's usually reliable. But I also wanted to mention, there have been a few changes lately. He seemed quieter in class. Distracted. Not like himself." The words landed like small stones. Distracted how? He used to be so engaged. Always one of the first to volunteer for projects, especially anything involving technology or design. But lately, he's been distant, like his attention's somewhere else entirely. He hasn't handed in his last 2 assignments, and when I tried to talk to him at lunch last week, I couldn't find him. Her pulse quickened. "You mean he left the school grounds?" "No, nothing like that. But he wasn't in the cafeteria or the computer room. I checked both. A few students mentioned seeing him in the hallway between periods, always on his phone. That was new. He used to spend breaks in the gaming lab with the others." She frowned. "I thought phones weren't allowed during class anymore." "They're not," the counselor replied quietly. "The school introduced a no-phone policy last month. Most students grumbled and moved on, but Timmy seemed agitated by it. Almost anxious. I noticed he started using his phone more during the small breaks between classes, always looking down, always typing fast. The room seemed to shrink around her. She pressed a hand against the counter for balance. "And you're sure he's not there today? Not according to the roll call, but we'll keep checking." "I thought you should know. Sometimes when kids pull away like this, it's a sign they're relying on something or someone outside their usual circle." There was a long pause. The hum of the refrigerator returned, low and steady. "Thank you," she said finally, her voice anxious. "Please call me if anything changes." "Of course." The line clicked. The house fell silent again. When the call ended, she stood there a long moment, the receiver still in her hand, her reflection faintly visible in the darkened screen of the microwave door. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaked, soft, deliberate, like a sound she wasn't supposed to hear. Timmy didn't break the rules. He simply redefined them under Josh's influence. His rebellion wasn't loud or defiant. It was silent, obedient to an algorithm he didn't understand. The danger wasn't in disobedience, but in compliance disguised as choice. The first warning sign is isolation dressed as privacy. When a child begins closing doors, both literally and emotionally, it's rarely about needing space. It's about building a world where adults no longer exist. The sound of a locked door isn't defiance, it's displacement, the quiet shift from trust to secrecy. The second sign is fatigue without reason. Tired eyes, late mornings, loss of rhythm. To a parent, it looks like growing up, staying up late, being moody, needing rest. But fatigue in this generation often means they're being trained, rewarded by systems that never sleep, conditioned by feedback loops that keep their minds awake long after their bodies give up. The third sign is digital validation replacing real emotion. When a child's confidence grows online but fades in person, when laughter comes more easily from a screen than from a family table, that's not growth. It's reprogramming. Every emoji of approval, every digital nod, chips away at the value of human connection. Then comes substitution. Digital validation replacing real emotion. When a child laughs harder at a screen than at the dinner table, when comfort comes from notifications instead of voices, connection becomes imitation. The warmth that once came from people is replaced by pixels that only mimic it. And then the last sign, the most dangerous of all, the illusion of control. They believe they are choosing this. They believe they are free. They can put the device down anytime, they tell you, but they never do, because the cage isn't around them. It's inside them. We used to recognize danger by the noise it made. Now it arrives in silence, smiling, efficient, and impossible to blame. This is the prelude to the synthetic generation. The quiet awakening of children who no longer wait for guidance, who no longer need permission to belong to something greater than themselves. They are not being raised by families anymore, but by feedback. Every swipe, every scroll, every reel, every like is a lesson. And as they learn to depend on what responds instead of who listens, a new kind of childhood begins.